Okay, so a viewer recently asked me to do a camera comparison on the 13 and the 13 Pro, so I thought that was a great idea, so I bought myself one of these camera contraptions so I could make that video. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a photo comparison test. I am going to be showing you different shots throughout the day, indoors, outdoors, landscape, low light, telephoto, and zoom. We're gonna cover all of it. I also want to say quickly that we will not be comparing videos in this video, because first of all, the iPhone has the best video on any smartphone, and I think most YouTubers start out with the iPhone, so that's already an awesome benchmark. And I legitimately had a really hard time telling the difference between these two videos, so we're not going to cover it. Nothing about the cinematic mode, which I think is only a half-baked feature as of right now. So for this test, we are purely doing photo comparison. So first, we're going to be taking a side-by-side comparison, and in this section, I'm going to make it kind of like a trivia, where I'm going to ask you to guess which photo you think came from which phone. Then I'm going to show you in which scenarios the 13 Pro absolutely blows the 13 out of the water. And then finally, to conclude, I am going to give you my recommendation on whether it makes sense to pay $200 more for the 13 Pro over the normal 13. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the trivia portion, where I'm going to be showing you two photos. One is taken from the 13 Pro and one from the normal 13, and I'm gonna ask you to guess which one you think came from which phone. Okay, let's start off with this shot. These are taken from the main lenses. I really like how the shadows are being cast from the balconies. Tell me if you think you can guess which one is which. Feel free to pause the video if you need more time to look, but the reveal is that the left one was taken by the Pro and the right one was from the normal 13. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, in this next photo, we got an indoor shot of my television and the tree, but the reveal is that, again, the left one is the Pro and the right one is a normal 13. For this next one, we use the wide angle camera lens to take a shot of my desk setup. The left one is a normal iPhone and the right one is a Pro. Alright, for the next one, we took it outside and we are still using the wide angle lens. We got the tree, we got the shade, sun, so lots of different things happening in the photo. And the left one is the Pro and the right one is the normal 13. Okay, so for this next photo of this handsome dog, I used the telephoto on the 13 Pro and zoomed into 3x, which is the exact same amount on the normal 13 to get the same zoom distance. And the left one here is a Pro and the right one is the normal 13. I use a portrait mode on both of these phones, and the left one is the normal 13 and the right one is the Pro. Took some more indoor shots here. Who doesn't like taking some pictures of food? Was doing a little bit of dinner prep, and in this case, the left one is the normal 13 and the right one is the Pro. And as we hit the evening, I went outside to do more evening portrait photos, and in this case, the left is the Pro and the right is the normal 13. Did some more exploring and tried to see what the photos might look like from an indoor setting in the evening, and in this case, the left is the normal one and the right is the Pro. Okay, in this photo, we were really testing out night mode, and I am so impressed by how they came out, because when I was standing there taking these photos, it was so dark. At first, I didn't even know that there was a group sitting there in the shadows of the trees. And so when I took these photos, I saw colors that you could not see in real life. It was not this green, it was not this bright. So night mode really blew me away, and we're getting to that point where the photos look better than it does in real life. But all that being said, the left one is a Pro and the right one is the normal one. In the case of the apartment photo completely at night with no lights on, the left one is the normal one and the right is the Pro. Now, we've taken a look at some of these photos where they're very similar. Whether it's ultra wide, portrait mode, day and night, they are pretty comparable to each other. But here is where I started seeing some of the differences, where the Pro started to edge out on the normal 13. So if we take a look at these two photos of these buildings, they're both zoomed into the 3x, and they look pretty similar from a glance. But I've magnified these up, and if you look at the detailing in the buildings, you can see that the Pro has so much detail than the normal 13, which has to use a digital zoom. Here again, I took a picture of the top of the steeple at a church, and at a glance, they look pretty similar, but if you really zoom into those gargoyles, the 13 Pro has so much more definition in those gargoyles than the 13. 13. And when we take a look at the statue at night, it's a very similar story where if you zoom in, the 13 Pro, you can see all of the crisp details, whereas the 13, it kind of looks like a bad video game character model. Oh, and by the way, if this video is helping you make a better decision, I'd appreciate it if you give me a like. And so as I was doing the test, I realized that the 13 and the 13 Pro are pretty similar for 80% of the things you take, but it's in the last fringe edges on either side where the Pro really shine. What I mean specifically is when things are really close or they're really far, the 13 Pro blows the normal 13 out of the water in that scenario. So let's take a look. On the left side, I had the normal 13, and that was about as close as I could get before the camera started losing focus, versus on the right, literally brought the phone right up to the watch, and I could not believe how much detail I was getting out of the macro lens. It was the exact same thing with the PlayStation controller. On the left, again, was about how close I could get before the controller was losing focus, but on the right, I was blown away. There was a speck of dust on the controller that I saw through the camera, and it looked humongous. And when I looked at that physical controller to wipe it off, it was a speck of dust. It was like a millimeter long. And that's how close up this macro lens could get. And again, with the fruits on the left side was about how close I could get, but it's nothing compared to what you get with the macro lens on the Pro. You can see all the little hairs coming off of that raspberry. And it doesn't end there with things that are up close, because again, with that telephoto, it could go really far. These pictures are a comparison of the max zoom on both of these phones. So on the left, you have a 5x zoom, and that was about how far I could see. You got a picture of the Hudson Yards edge going on. And then on the right, you got the Pro, and that was a max zoom of 15x, and you could see so far. How much further and clearer you can see is better demonstrated in the second example, because now we're looking at a little bit of text. On the left side, you can see the red sign, but you don't know what it's saying. But with the 13 Pro, I can make out the letters in that photo. So now that we've done the photo comparisons, is it worth the extra money getting the Pro over the normal 13? Yes and no. Let me explain why. As I said in my normal which iPhone should you get video, the 13 is still phenomenal. For 80% of people, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference. Even with these pictures, it's only when I really push the phones to the limit could you start seeing some of the differences. Most photos you're taking, you're going to be sharing with your friends on social media. Most of your friends are gonna be consuming on their phones. No one's gonna be blowing it up 4 times the normal resolution, so you're not going to be able to tell the difference. But on the flip side, I absolutely do think that it is worth it for certain people. This was the most fun I had playing around with a phone's camera probably ever. The ability to do the macro shots, the ability to see so far away that I could read a sign off a building. Like, these are details that are hard to see in real life. When you take photos, you want them to come out in a certain way, but when it doesn't, sometimes you start questioning, is it because I am not a good photographer, or is it because the hardware is bad? And if I had better hardware, would I have been able to capture that image that I had in my mind? If you've ever asked yourself any version of that question, then yeah, get the 13. That money that you spend will give you that peace of mind of knowing that you have the best of the best, and there's no possible physical way that that photo could have been better. But if you've never really asked yourself that, or it never really bothered you, and no one's ever called you out on taking bad photos, then yeah, the 13's fine. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that this video helps you figure out which phone might be better for you in terms of the cameras. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. I read and answer all of them. I really like responding to any questions that you might have. All right, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.